Welcome guys. In this video tutorial, what I'm going to talk about is this going to be a series of video tutorial. I will be talking about tips and tricks in JavaScript that will be very useful to you to understand. So the title of this video tutorial is going to be tips and tricks, and I will be going through a different kind of topic and different kind of thing in different kind of issues that we would like to talk about in JavaScript. Okay, so this is our topic here. Okay, and this is going to be the very first videos in our video tutorial series in JavaScript. And just brief introduction about myself. My name is Siba Adhikari. I'm a senior software engineer. I'm kind of like geeky type of person. I love writing code. So basically, this is what I do. I love to eat, sleep, and dream code. Okay, here's my Twitter account if you guys want to follow me and stuff like that. Here's my Twitter handle, okay? Okay, that is all about me because we are here to learn something. So today we're going to talk about tips and tricks in JavaScript. This is going to be the very first tip. Today what we're going to talk about is a function arguments in JavaScript. This is, I have decided to create this video because if you come from server-side backgrounds, the way JavaScript works and how the function parameter in JavaScript is very, very confusing. So that's why I'll be talking. So the target audience for this this topic I would consider people who are just trying to learn JavaScript, or intermediate people who or who come from server-side background. They do not have that much JavaScript exposure and stuff like that. So that is that's what the target audience is going to be. Okay, of course I don't have a lot of slide. I'm not like a slide kind of person when I do my presentation. Most of the thing that we talk here in the slide will be writing code, and then today we'll be writing our code into. I use this editor called this is editor called Visual Studio Code. It is a free open source lightweight editor from Microsoft. You can use it, you can download it and write your code, okay? That's what I'm using to write the code, and then of course to execute the code, execute my code, I'm just using here my Windows PowerShell, and I have a Node installed in my machine. I'll be using Node to execute the JavaScript in our example, okay? Okay, let's go into the very first example here. Like I said, here is my source code. I have here first example here, okay? Here I have a JavaScript function here, okay? Name of this function is function argument demo1, and it takes three parameter: parameter 1, parameter 2, and parameter 3. And the implementation of this function is pretty easy, okay? So basically it takes those three parameters. We're going to multiply those and return the result to the color, okay? Now let's see what happens. I want to see, let's say, the result of this function invocation, and I'm going to invoke this function and pass three parameters. Let's say 2, 3, or 2. This should be pretty obvious. We will go through a very simple example and we will explain what happens behind the scene. Okay, we're calling this method and we're passing all the three parameters that you'd expect here in this argument, okay? These are out, okay. So, and then I want to see in console, I'm going to log this information. I want to see the result of the invocation. As you can see, it's very simple. All it does is 2 times 3, 6 times 4 should be a 24, right? So let's go ahead and save this one, and I'm going to go into my PowerShell here, and I'm going to invoke Node, and that is in file called one.js right here. It was very simple. What happened was I used a Node command here and specify the file where our source code was, and it was executed. And when we execute, oops, that's not what I mean to do. So when it was executed, it printed out 24 into the console. No big deal, right? So far so good. However, let's write let's say I'm going to say this one result 1, and then I'm going to invoke this method again. And this time, I'm going to pass 1/5 additional parameter. Okay? So, if and then, well, this is the result 1, this is the result 2. I'm going to log both of them. Here is the result 1, here is the result 2, and the function gets executed twice. This time we're passing 3 parameter. Now, if you assuming you're writing this code in C# or Java or any server-side languages, any static programming languages, first of all, you won't be able to pass this additional parameter right here. But JavaScript doesn't complain. You can pass as many parameter as you like. Okay, even before that, let's go ahead and run this code again and see what happens. What the first result can be and what the second result can be. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and execute again. We got 2 results. So 24, and first one is 24, the second one also 24. What that means? That means that in JavaScript, if their additional function parameter, additional argument is provided to the function but not used, the it doesn't complain. It does totally disregard it. So okay, no problem. So that is okay. Let's go one more extreme example here. Now, as you can see, this function expects 3 parameter, right? But this time, instead of passing 3 parameter, I'm going to pass only 2 parameter. Let's see what happens now. As you guys, like most of the people who know JavaScript might have guessed by now. Oh, you know what? This guy is, when we pass this one, well, even before that, let's go ahead and run this one. Okay, let's see what happens. The first one, of course, no problem. The second one, the result was nan. The result was nan because the implementation says right here, we grab the first one, which is let's say for this particular example right here, we have 2 here, 2 substituted for param 1 and 3 substituted for this one. But we didn't pass any value to the param 3 in this case. JavaScript didn't complain. It was, it thought, what, everything is okay. If so, what happens in JavaScript argument, basically, if the argument is not passed by default, this becomes undefined. That value is undefined. Undefined is special kind of value in JavaScript. So you cannot multiply a number and undefined. So JavaScript engine says, hey, I don't know how to do evaluation of the thing that you provided to me, so it cannot do evaluation. That's why it says nan. I don't know how. So that is the nan result. Okay. That is the very first thing I want you guys to know about. Okay. So, and the other important thing is, okay, that's the first example. Let's get into the second example here. Okay. So in JavaScript, when the function, in JavaScript we have this special kind of object called arguments. Let's briefly talk about this object, okay? Okay. So from that example that we just saw, what we can say now is the argument, the function argument is not required. Function argument is not required in JavaScript like other programming languages, other static programming languages like C# or Java. For example, if you're writing code in C#, if you do not pass any parameter when the method or the function expect the parameter, the compiler is going to say, hey, cannot compile. You need to provide the right kind of parameter. But JavaScript, you don't have to do that. And the other important thing to notice is that JavaScript doesn't, in the function parameter, you don't have to specify the type. So it's a dynamic language. So it doesn't care. You just pass the value, could be a string, a number, or whatever. But of course, it might, based on the operation or implementation that you're doing in the body of your function, you might throw error. But It doesn't complain. Okay, the most important thing to understand is line number 3. The JavaScript also provides an object called arguments. Okay, and as we saw in the example right here in number 3, when if you do not specify the parameter, then the value becomes undefined. That is the other thing that I want you guys to know about. Okay, and there is a special kind of object that becomes available when the flow of a source code, let's say you have a source code, you're just executing, and the source flow comes into the function invocation point. At that particular time, after execution, so basically then object called arguments become available as a parameter to the function. Okay, let's talk about that object. Let's look at into example for that particular object. Okay, it is kind of weird kind of object because it kind of behaves like array object in JavaScript. But however, we know with array, as we know, it has so many methods like a method for sorting or pushing and pop and all those methods. But this object doesn't expose that. Okay, let's look at that in example. Let's go back into the source code. Okay, to see that source code I have here. Okay, I have a method here, very simple method, function argument demo. I mean to say this is demo 2. Okay. All right. So all I have here is this. I'm just logging some information into the console. Let's go ahead and save. And even before this one, okay. Let's go ahead and invoke this method here. Okay. Let's see function. I just want to call this method here, okay, so that we can see what it does. Alright, let's go ahead and save it, the source code here. As you can see, now we are, the very first thing we want to make sure that this object becomes available, okay. So right now, we are not passing any parameter into this, the function argument. We are not passing anything, and we are just saying arguments dot length. So let's go ahead and let's do the one. I'm going to 2.js here. As you can see right here, it says okay, the length of that argument is 0 because here I haven't passed any parameter. Let's say I'm going to pass some parameter. Hello. So what it might say? It might say this time it should say 0 or 1 or whatever, right? Let's go ahead and run this guy again. This time, as you guessed correctly, the value, the length of the argument is 1. So basically, what it's doing is any argument we pass into this function here, into this method, becomes available as an argument. Okay. So since it exposed this property called length, that means we can iterate through it. We can go through we can index through it, right? We can write our for loop, our for each loop. It's stuff like that. So, and the important thing to understand here is that arguments that object, when they write a statement, it is kind of like array, but not really an array. Why they are saying it? If it is an array, we can say this. Okay, let's see what happens. I'm going to comment this one right here, and then as you can know, every array. What I'm trying to say, let's say, if I have a, and if I say an array now, as you can see, array has a bunch of methods like a push. Let's see what happened to this particular object called arguments that becomes available in a function invocation, right? So at this point, I'm saying, okay, tell me what the push is, and then let's go ahead and execute that one. Oh, we got a problem here. That problem is, it is complaining about is console is not an object. Okay, it has to be the lowercase. But you might get similar kind of. Okay, as you can see right here, it says undefined because that property isn't, because it's not really a true array. If it were a true array, of course, it would have all those methods provided by JavaScript array object. So it doesn't contain those. So, however, it contains a length. Let's say we can do something like you can do for, let's say index is 0, index is less than, arguments, the length, and we're gonna increment this. Our typical for loop, right? That we have been writing since we learned programming. Okay, so let's say very simple. All we can do is just gonna console that whatever result A. We're gonna console. Okay. So all we're doing is just basically logging and just printing into the console. All it does, as you can guess in this example, is just going to print hello. Okay. Okay, let's change it. Let's give additional, say hello world this time. Okay, as you can see, it says hello world. Okay, nothing is special. Whatever we pass, we basically. So the idea the thing to remember, to know about arguments object is it becomes available when the function gets, in the context when the function gets executed. At the time the arguments object will be available to your method body, and then of course it contains all the parameters that were passed. So that's why we can write. These are very common pattern that you will see. Like if you have a huge amount of parameter to pass in JavaScript function, we just let's say we have to okay, you can just write the month of the year or whatever, right? So we can, this function would do whatever. Anyway, so let's say ideally I wish this was actually an array, but because of the JavaScript, I don't know when they implemented it, for some reason they decide to leave this argument object as it is. Not really true array, but kind of exposes behavior like array, as you saw in the example right here. So anyway, so that sometimes maybe you wanted this particular object, these arguments, to behave like an array. I have seen this in so many, especially in a lot of libraries and stuff. Basically, you can force the argument to behave like an array. Okay, let's see how to do it. I have some example here. Okay. Here is the method. This line number 30, starting from line number 33. Function argument demo number 3. All I'm doing is I just want to find out how many arguments are there. I'm logging that into a console. And remember, this argument object is not an array. It behaves like array. We can loop through it by indexes, right? But we cannot. Let's say we would like to. Maybe we have a bunch of items. We would like to sort it or all kind of stuff. We cannot do that, right? Okay. So let's say we have a requirement, something like we'd like to sort something. I'm going to comment this code out, and we're just looking at this particular function there. thing to remember right now is basically we are using this array.prototype. It has a method called slice, and then we call this slice method and pass the argument. So we are trying to force making this argument object as actual array. And then if we do this, and now we can do argument.push, we can push any value we want. We are pushing 900, and next thing I'm doing right now is basically saying, okay, now tell me the size of the length of the array this time. Okay, and then let's simply call this function here function argument demo3. I'm going to save everything, go into my node console, and just run free.js. Okay, see, it printed out 0 first and then 1, 0 and 1. The idea was, before we do a with course using this statement right here, the length was 0 because we didn't pass anything here. And after that we course, and after that we call slice method with the for the arguments, and then we got new arguments, which is now actually an array. We force it to become or behave like an array, okay? And then we push something. Now, since it is an array now, on line number 39, we can use any method that array exposes. And then we push 9,000 here. Or we can push now, and then say, okay, now tell me the length. Okay, now it's just pretty, now so let's print something here, okay? You can say, arguments, we can say arguments pop okay, so when we did pop, so now it, the last item that was inserted, because this is, stack, so pop from one from the stack, the last item that was inserted. So what I'm trying to say, what I'm trying to show you is that, like, we can coerce, we can force the argument object to behave like an array, okay? And after that, everything that is array related can be any method that exposed by the array object can be used here. And the other thing, this one is little, verbose. You don't really have to type. You don't have to go down the prototype chain of the array object. You can just do this. They are the same thing, in the least amount of keystroke. And both of them should work. I prefer this one because less coding, less typing. Okay, let's run this one, and it should behave exactly the same as before. Okay, that is that. So the next demo that we have is this one right here. Okay. Okay, just guess what this method is going to do. We have console.log, and of course, we'll go about this one. This is just a little funky example here. This is a self-executing anonymous function. It doesn't have any name, just a function without a name. Doesn't take right here, doesn't take any parameter, and it starts from, this is the body of this function, and this function is invoked right here. So what this function does is, like, we can pass any parameter, any integer parameter. But we don't have any validation here. We want to make sure it's only integer. We can put some validation here. And then before doing this operation, this multiplication operation to our argument, we need validation, right? Because if the user passed something like, in this case here, If I pass a string like that, it's going to fail because there is no multiplication operation for the string, right? So the validation becomes very important. Anyway, so what this one does basically is the same idea here. The arguments become available here when this gets invoked, and it has a length property by default. We are iterating. On each iteration, we are basically multiplying all of this number here. So the flexibility of this one is that now, let's say we just want to multiply those two. Go ahead and save it. This is an example number 4. And now, as you guessed correctly, you know what this method does. Before it just multiply 2 times 3 as 6. Now 3 times 2 as 6. You change it. All we have to do, we don't have to write. Imagine, you know, the usefulness of this thing is right. Imagine that we had to write similar kind of code in other programming languages. We need to write the method overload, right? Because we cannot pass unlimited number of parameters to function. But in JavaScript, because of this object, we can do that, right? So now, this time, our results will be 3 times 2 is 6 times 3 is 18. And let's verify that. Let's go ahead and clear it, everything. Oops. As you guessed correctly, it's 18. So we can, we can pass unlimited number of parameters here. Whatever, it should be able to, or whatever. Let's go ahead and save and just give it a try one more time. Okay, it computed, it did the multiplication correctly. Okay, so anyway, this very let's go back into our slide. Okay. So here in it's bullet number 4. Implicitly in JavaScript arguments are available through object-like argument are available through an object like an array called arguments. However, argument object is not an array, but we can iterate through it. We can do that for with the indexes because it exposes a property called length. And however, it is not an array. It's very important for you to understand because you might, say, hey, it has a length property. A lot of people, I have seen a lot of, especially people who are new to JavaScript. Hey, since it has a length property, I'm pretty sure it should be an array. But that is not true. That is the whole idea, that I wanted you guys to, understand about it. That's why I created those examples, and I wanted to this little demo for you guys to have some knowledge about. And then of course, some of the benefit of this one is that unlike other like in C# or Java, we don't have to write operator method overloading just to be able to have multiple parameters. And other thing, of course, you don't have to pass parameter if you don't want to. You can write because the argument provide that functionality to you. And the most important thing that arguments object becomes available when your flow of execution reaches the method invocation point. For example, let's say you have a method called do something. When it reaches do something right here, that's when the arguments object becomes available. And only at that point. Okay, that is very important to understand. Anyway, guys, I will be creating lots of videos about different kind of tips and tricks in JavaScript. This is going to be the first one. Definitely I will be creating some more, a lot of more actually, as the time passes by. Thank you so much for watching videos. Anyway, if you have other ideas, any suggestion or whatever, please put it into a comment section. I would really appreciate it. Thank you.